Hello and welcome to UPSC IAS BRAIN. Recently, Parliament passed the bill to link electoral roll data with Aadhaar ecosystem. Why the government wants to link your voter ID to your Aadhaar number? Why there is objection to linking voter rolls to Aadhaar? Is the linkage of voter ID card and Aadhaar actually voluntary? If voluntary, then why it is problematic? Let's try and answer all these questions in today's sessions. You will be able to get the answers to all your questions. The Election Laws Amendment Bill 2021 seeks to amend the Representation of Peoples Act to bring in key reforms including voluntary linkage of voter ID with Aadhaar. The government says linking Aadhaar with electoral rolls will solve the problem of multiple enrollments of the same person at different places. Once Aadhaar linkage is achieved, the electoral roll data system will instantly alert the existence of previous registrations whenever a person applies for new registration. So this will help to purify the rolls and weed out the bogus voters, and also with the help of linkage of Aadhaar, it will help the government in offering this voting right to migrant laborers as well, and it improved accessibility of voting rights. So a lot of people are against to this step of government because they are saying that the linkage of voter ID card and Aadhaar violates the fundamental right to privacy defined in Puttaswamy case verdict. There is an important thing that you have to notice. This linkage of Aadhaar and voter ID has been a demand of the Election Commission ever since 2015. The Election Commission has launched the National Electoral Law Purification and Authentication Program to link the Aadhaar number with the voter ID number. At the time, the program was stalled due to Supreme Court ordered that the Aadhaar will remain optional to avail of welfare schemes. Let you know the important and silent features in this bill. It will provide the registration of new voters on qualifying dates instead of current Jan 1st of every year. Let me make it clear about this current cutoff. Anyone turning 18 on or before Jan 1st will be eligible to be registered as a voter. Anyone born after January 1st will have to get enlisted only after a year. Now, according to this bill, along with January 1st, there will be three other qualifying dates: April 1st and July 1st and October 1st in every calendar. And another important feature of this bill is gender neutrality. The language for registration of wives of service voters will be replaced by spouse. This will make the laws more to bring gender neutrality. Service voters are those who serving in the armed forces or government employees posted outside India. And next important feature is authentication of entries. One of the concerns in the whether the bill implementation will be successful if the linkage is not compulsory. The bill amends the Representation of Peoples Act 1950 and RPA Act 1951 to implement certain electoral reforms. 1950 Act provides that a person apply the electoral registration officer for inclusion of their name. Now this bill says the electoral registration officer may require a person to furnish their Aadhaar number for establishing their identity. But my dear aspirants, please keep in mind this point. In case a person does not provide their Aadhaar number, then that cannot be reason to delete their name from the electoral roll. Now, before going to discuss the concerns of Election Laws Amendment Bill 2021, let's see the backdrop to the linking of the Aadhaar. Already we discussed earlier, Election Commission tried to linkage voter ID with Aadhaar, but this could not be continued due to the Supreme Court judgment. Puttaswamy judgment, which is declared that right to privacy is a part of Article 21 in Indian Constitution. Here Puttaswamy judgment also stated that the state can make law which infringes right to privacy. However, such a law must fulfill the threefold test. The threefold test of legality, which means there must be a rational reason to fulfill that objective, and the step taken by the government must be proportional. There are three criteria to be met. One is legality, which is already discussed. This legality, which articulates the existence of the law, and another important thing is need, which is defined in terms of a legitimate state aim. The need in this criteria was to provide government benefits and subsidies to marginalized and poor citizens through Aadhaar card. A step taken by the government must be proportional, which means a law can be considered only if there is no other less restrictive or there is no impact on rights holder. Now let you know what are the important criticisms or what are the important concerns over this bill. One of the major concerns against this law raised in Parliament was that it violates the requirement of proportionality under the Puttaswamy judgment on right to privacy. On the other hand, there is actual evidence of move leading to the mass disenfranchisement in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. This means violation of universal suffrage under Article 326. Linking the voter and Aadhaar databases would be an attack on the right to privacy. There are serious concerns that it would be violate our constitutional and fundamental right to privacy and secrets of the vote. India currently has no data protection law. Linking Aadhaar to voter IDs would bring the demographic information into voter database. This creates the possibilities of increased surveillances and disenfranchisement based on identity and target advertisements and commercial exploitation of sensitive private data. So it again impacts on Article 326. The promise of voluntariness in Aadhaar law cannot be trusted. This is grossly adequate safeguards as we see in an atrocious manner in which the public was forcefully and terrorized to link the Aadhaar numbers with their bank accounts. Despite the law being voluntary and specific stay orders from the Supreme Court, we have seen how throughout the Aadhaar project, voluntary on the paper translates to coercive mechanism in practice. And opposition has claimed Aadhaar linkage will enable non-citizens to vote. Now there is a conceptual confusion. Aadhaar is not a proof of citizenship, and it is said so very clearly in Aadhaar Act. We all know that voting can only be done by citizens. So status of data privacy is so tenuous that political party in the power or with the financial resources to access this data would know whom I have voted for or sooner or later. The whole purpose of keeping the voting process anonymous gets defeated, and the election data is currently held in its own database by the Election Commission of India, which has been own verification process and is independent of the other government databases. The proposed Aadhaar election database link will be make data available to the Election Commission of India and India's unique identification authority. So finally, citizens' privacy may be violated as a result of this. So ultimately, we need a comprehensive legislation. A free and fair election requires an error-free electoral roll. The government, on the other hand, should present a comprehensive bill so that proper debate may take place in Parliament. The law should state the scope of data sharing between two databases, the mechanism for obtaining consent, and whether or not consent to link the databases can be revoked. Thank you.